Hello and welcome to First Impressions. I'm Sam.
I'm Leah.
I'm Ines.
And we're here to discuss our first impressions on coming to Iceland. So starting off here, what was the most surprising thing that you all experienced? Like, what was the most surprising thing for you when you first got here?
I guess for me I first came here in 2016, and I think only upon arrival you realize how small the country actually is, like population-wise. And especially like after I spent a lot of time in the north, like I really got to experience the remoteness. And my partner actually pointed out to me that when we would look like from the shore, we could see like the Greenlandic shore in the distance from there. And that was really when I noticed how far removed we were like from the rest of the world, or like the parts where we grew up, I guess. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it was great experience. Like, I mean, I come from like a very profit-driven city. There's like a very hectic life there, and like fast-paced. And it was very good to remove yourself from that. And I was surprised how well you can do that in Iceland, actually, and how remote it is really. And I still get that reset feeling sometimes when I come here again after being away.
Yeah. Do you have that feeling in Reykjavik?
Yes, but even more so like on the countryside,
yeah.
Of course.
Yes. Yeah, when I first moved to Iceland, like I didn't get to see Reykjavik at all. It was like a layover because I was going to the southeast to work, and the remoteness was something that I knew it was going to happen, but I wasn't expecting it in the like amount, I guess, that I had it. But I think the most shocking thing that I learned once I started working in Iceland was how relaxed people are. Mm-hmm. And now, like when you're from the south of Europe and you constantly like get lessons about like the North's productivity, for example, you're not expecting to get here and your boss telling you like, yeah, the client can wait, you just do your job at the pace that you like will do your job well. And I was like, oh, this is great. But yeah, the fact that I was 30 kilometers away from a supermarket was something that shocked me, because I'm like from the second biggest city in Portugal, so it was like, wow, that was insane. Yeah. How about you, Sam?
Well, I think the thing that most surprised me was the climate.
Okay.
Yeah. When I first got here, I came from Boston, and so when I boarded the plane, it was late August of 2018, and it was 95 degrees Fahrenheit, which is like 35 degrees Celsius. Mm-hmm. And so I was wearing shorts and a t-shirt. And then I got off the plane in Keflavik, and it was 5 degrees Celsius, or like 41 degrees Fahrenheit. So that was a big shocker. And I expected to get actually colder, but that didn't happen. It stayed pretty much the same throughout the whole winter. So that was a nice surprise. I come from a place where the winters are always very, very cold, and so it was nice to have sort of a mild winter.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that really surprised me though was the how much everything costs, how expensive. Like my in-laws tried to warn me,
yeah,
but nothing could prepare me for what, like 2,000 krona, which is like $20 US,
yeah,
for fast food, and that's cheap.
Mm. Yep.
I've gotten used to it now, so like I go back to the States and I'm like, oh yeah, this is cheap. Oh yeah, that's cheap, and I end up spending way more money than I probably should. But.
Yeah, that's a factor. Have you always been in Reykjavik since you moved here?
Yeah, Reykjavik area.
Okay.
Seltjarnarnes.
Okay.
But
that's nice.
Close enough.
Yeah. One thing that I noticed ever since I moved here, and I think is like it happens all over the country, is how people use electricity very freely. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They will leave all the lights on all the time, all the heaters. One thing that I went back home, and it was like the thing I told my friends as the surprising thing of living in a foreign country like Iceland, was that you would be in a bar or like at someone's house, and if it was too hot, they would open a window instead of like turning down the heaters. And that for me was like, and for all my friends, was like luxury living, you know? Because like you'll get like one heater dividing through the house if you're like living with your house with friends, you know. And here everyone's just like leaving their lights on and heaters everywhere. I guess the electricity is cheaper, but
yeah, that was surprising to me too, like how loose they are with the use of electricity. And like also where I live, like my dad would always tell me like, you have to switch up the light, like every time you leave a room, like switch up the light. And you switch on the light only in the room that you actually use at the moment. And also when I came here, I was like, why would people do that? Like, it's such a waste.
Yeah.
And I had this argument also actually with with an Icelander, and he just told me, you know, like it's clean energy, so there's nothing to worry about. Like, you're not saving the environment by not using the energy.
That's true.
On the other hand, yeah, I'm not sure like what to think of that approach, but it's certainly something that's surprising and different.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
My wife actually gets after me for not shutting the lights off.
Okay.
Like I'll forget to shut the lights, and she's Icelandic.
Okay.
So, yeah, but maybe she's the exception.
Yeah, like in the place I lived at, in the older like Icelandic folks would go to the supermarket and leave their car outside with the key in the ignition and like the motor running while they went shopping.
Yeah.
Like, just also like doors would be open like during the evening, like if you would go for a walk next to the sea, everyone's doors were open.
Yeah.
No one locks the doors. I guess they're not afraid of anything. But it was really surprising too.
It's very safe here though.
Yeah.
Like parents will leave their kids in the pram.
Yeah.
Like outside while they go and run errands. Like get groceries, get their hair done.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you noticed the kids are like, while we're on the topic, like they kind of just run everywhere?
Yeah. I've noticed that. I once in a supermarket was being flipped off by a group of Icelandic kids, and I don't know if they noticed that I was a foreigner. I don't think it was like intentionally to be mean, but I just started to like point at their mom and be like, I'm gonna tell her, and they were like, oh, please don't. But I think like I found that, I think maybe because of that, Icelandic kids are really like sociable and smart. Like they will, I don't know, I wasn't expecting that. Maybe I thought they would be a little closed off. Does it like make you feel weird that the kids are all like unsupervised?
I mean, I've definitely asked myself, whose kid is this?
Yeah.
Like I'll be in bonus or something, and just some random 4-year-old will run past me, and there's like no parents in sight, and I'm like, who? Like, where did this kid come from? So I mean, like as somebody from the States, you would never see that happen. Like you see parents with like leashes on their kids.
Yeah.
But here it's a little more free, and I think, I mean, yeah, maybe the kids grow up to be a little more independent, a little more socially responsible, maybe.
I think that's actually a great thing. Like I've noticed that too. That they're very independent, like from very early age on.
Yeah.
And I also like I have a 2-year-old niece, and she's like the most independent person in the world. She's more independent than me.
Yeah.
She just like comes up to like me and tries to explain something in Icelandic, and my Icelandic is like very average still. And she doesn't get tired of like explaining to me like this is how it works, and like this is what I'm trying to tell you. And I mean, she doesn't have the option to switch to English, so I get it, but I mean, I'm very surprised at like how determined she also is to like teach me, and just to her I'm probably just really dumb, but she thinks like, why doesn't she understand my language? Yeah, but we get along.
Oh, that's good.
That's nice.
Get along despite the language barrier.
Yeah.
Have you tried to learn Icelandic?
Yeah, you try too, right?
Yeah, I've been learning for about a year now, and I absolutely love the language. It's a fun language to learn and to speak. There's a lot of difficulty with it, but I'm having fun with it. One thing that I've really noticed is that there's a lot of shops downtown that employ Icelanders. Of course, it's makes sense.
Yeah.
And so now that my Icelandic has gotten to a place where I can speak it with fairly decent pronunciation. I have a lot of people with whom I can practice. But at the beginning, a lot of the people in the shop would just switch to English when I would try to speak Icelandic because I was butchering their language.
Yeah.
And it was a little bit frustrating because I was just trying to learn the language, and they would So I think unless you have either a determined 2-year-old niece or formal classes, it's kind of difficult to learn the language for that reason.
I think I'm the only one of us that hasn't started to try.
Yeah.
But I had this thing, like, when I went to supermarkets, I would always, like, try to guess what the cashier was saying and just answer ja or nay. Usually I would go nej tak, that means no thank you. Because it was usually like, do you want the receipt? Do you want the bag? And I didn't want either, so I would always answer back in Icelandic, and that was my way of, like, feeling validated. I spoke 2 words of Icelandic today. And then one time I was in, like, the liquor store, and the lady asked me something in Icelandic, and I said nei tak, and she was like, started laughing a lot, and she was like, I asked you for your ID. and I just told her, like, no, thank you.
I thought you were going to give me an ID. That's so convenient.
Yeah. Thankfully, I came to Iceland rightfully at the age that I could drink, so it was fine.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. It's still very expensive, so
never
mind.
I've actually cut down on my drinking quite a bit since coming to Iceland, which, I mean, I guess it's a good thing.
Yeah, in a way. Yeah. But like unions and everything have a lot of support for people to learn Icelandic.
That's true.
And even in the countryside, there were like little courses starting at level 1 of Icelandic. So I think it's very easy to try to learn it, at least. I don't know if it's easy to actually learn it.
Yeah.
You guys could tell me better.
I think it's very hard, like you say, to put it into practice.
Yeah.
It's extremely difficult. Like right now, I'm actually studying at the university. It's like a degree called Practical Diploma, where you're supposed to learn Icelandic basically within a year. And I don't know. It's, for me, I guess I have the advantage, like in German, we have the cases too.
Yeah.
So I'm familiar with the concept, but then again, like I think sometimes people overestimate like the benefits that like German gives you when learning Icelandic, because a lot of things will work differently. Like the words are not the same words.
Yeah.
And the cases also often work differently. Like when you would use dative in German, it would be sometimes accusative in Icelandic. But I mean, now I do understand a lot. It's still very hard to speak, like you say. It's very easy to be misunderstood.
Yeah.
And I'm also a perfectionist, so I know I make many mistakes, so I sometimes like just withdraw. But I mean, the best way I think really is just to push yourself and like get out there and try to speak as much as possible and repeat.
Yeah. Speaking of difficulties and getting words wrong, the other day I said I am a sandwich.
And are you, Sam?
Sometimes.
Sometimes,
yeah. So, Yer Samola means I agree. Yer Samloka means I am a sandwich. I said I am a sandwich.
Great,
so it's understandable.
It was a great moment. A lot of fun was had by all.
I can imagine so. Yeah.
So despite the language, like, what are things that you really enjoy about Iceland, about being here?
So many. I think the Icelandic, like, of course I'm generalizing, but Icelandic people have such a specific character. I think they're extremely helpful in any way there could be, but they're very nonchalant about it. They won't ask you for the receipts of helping you, and I think that's, at least in the countryside, I felt that a lot, like with being, for the first few months, the equivalent to like a stupid tourist that would do like things that are not like in the social code, you know, and they would be very accepting and If, for example, there were Icelandic people staying at the hotel that I worked in, and I would always say, I'm sorry for not speaking the language. Several times, people told me, like, we need you. Like, how could we blame you for not speaking our language when we need you more than you need us? And that's something that, I don't know, like, makes being an immigrant so much easier, you know? And I think in that sense, like, they're not proud about being generous, but they are in a very, like, cool way.
Yeah.
And of course all the other, like, Icelandic nature is something that is insane.
Yeah.
And I think when you have, for example, one thing that I really appreciate is that you can have like a very non-specific job, at least from my experience as an immigrant, like having a service job, and you can have like a quality of living that is very different from the south of Europe, from my experience, you know.
Yeah.
How about you guys?
Well, nothing so lofty as that, I guess.
Sorry, I went in that.
Just went deep. I'm
Sorry.
I'm gonna go on the other end of the spectrum and be a little bit more shallow.
Okay.
And, so I really like the fact that movie theaters have intermissions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a small but important detail.
It is a very important detail because I have ADD. I've always been the kid with ADD, and so I can't sit still for 2.5 hours. Like the first time I noticed this, I went to see Love Actually last year at Bio Paradis with my wife, and halfway through the movie it stopped, and it was just intermission, and I was like, oh yes, because like. It's a long movie. I had to pee.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think generally movie culture is really big here, which is probably due to the fact that it's very cold often.
Yeah.
People just try to find a way of like
it's
doing
cold.
something without being outdoors.
Yeah, it's cold. The winters are long, and alcohol's expensive. You got to do something.
Exactly.
That's the 3 reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess for me, something that I would say I love, which is unrelated to this now, but it's like that the country in general is very progressive.
Yes.
So I never feel bad about speaking my mind about certain topics, and I think it's a very, very good space for people to be, especially when they're like part of like a vulnerable community. I think in Iceland you rarely feel exposed.
Yeah.
Or like much less than in other countries, and of course not everything is perfect, and we hear that also a lot.
Yeah.
But I think it's something we should be, or like, I mean, so I'm already talking like I'm an Icelander now. But that, yeah, I guess we as immigrants, but especially the Icelandic people, should be really proud of, and they should keep doing what they're doing, like hold these values high and defend them like in front of the rest of the world.
Definitely.
So
Yeah.
that's something that I really appreciate.
That's beautiful.
You're
else?
You're so esoteric.
I'm sorry.
I'm just like,
we just
I'm
kind
just
of, kind of embarrass you.
Yeah, you're,
I like breaks.
I like the Icelandic the Icelandic culture in general. I like how progressive it is here. I like movie intermissions because I gotta pee.
I mean, there's a place for everyone in Iceland.
This is true.
both is important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
Click the bell.
And we'll see you next time.